Hey, Sean Hannity here. You know, we should all be spending less time mowing the lawn and more time with our friends and family. Now, don't spend hours cutting your grass. Make the change with a new Hustler zero-turn lawn mower. Now, find the dealer near you. Dial pound 250, keyword lawnmower, pound 250, keyword lawnmower. Now, you'll have the option to receive a one-time auto-dial text from Hustler Turf, and my listeners receive 1 year of extended warranty coverage on their new Hustler Turf lawnmower, a value of up to $499. HustlerTurf.com. All right, glad you're with us. Post Super Tuesday edition, Sean Hannity Show. All right, Mini Mike the Farmer. All crime happens only in minority neighborhoods. Go home and die. That's my health care plan. Mini Mike Bloomberg, anyway, is leaving the race to defeat Donald Trump. He just took to the podium.
Nominee. But I will not walk away from the most important political fight of my life, and I hope you won't walk away either. I've always believed that defeating Donald Trump starts with uniting behind the candidate with the best shot to do it. And after yesterday's vote, it is clear that candidate is my friend and a great American, Joe Biden. I've known Joe for a very long time. I know his decency, his honesty, his commitment to the issues that are so important to our country, including gun safety, health care, climate change, and good jobs. And I've had a chance to work with Joe on those issues over the years, especially when he was vice president. He fought for working people.
All right,
his whole life.
you know, I've often said that the candidates get out of races and they give great speeches. That their last speech is usually their better one. He actually seems better. You know why? Because he's like, oh, I'm out of this. Thank goodness. Because, whatever it is, I remember with Mitt Romney when he got out of the race before, I guess it was in 08 or whenever it was that he ran, I forget. And he gives the best speech of his life. And I'm sitting there thinking, here we go again. And that is that you get out of the race, you're unencumbered by your staff and the restrictions and the pressure that they're putting on you, and you feel like you're in a vice, and you might say the wrong thing like quid pro quo Joe every second of every minute of every hour of every day, and you're just too uptight. I mean, I think that one of the big issues that defines Donald Trump's presidency, which is transformational now, is that this guy just goes and he's Trump. Trump is Trump. What you see is what you get. He is unlike every other politician. He speaks his mind forthrightly, just hammers you, just says it. And the idea that people are feigning outrage like the mob and the media and the Democrats over, oh, did you hear what he said? You know what? The American people have adapted to the guy's style. But ultimately, it's going to be you, 244 days. It's not a done deal. I mean, if you look at the delegates, Biden now at 566, 501 for, let's see, Sanders, 61 Warren, and the farmer got 33. There's estimates. I haven't gotten an exact number, but because it keeps changing based on what the number is, anywhere between 5 million to 13 million per delegate. And he's going to stay in the race, spend a ton of money, and he's going to try and do. I always thought this was an ego thing for Mike the Farmer. I really did. I mean, I think he had the shock of his life last night. So let me give you my analysis. I watched a lot of the coverage, not all of it. It got a little boring to me at times. I'm not impressed by any of them. They all are socialists. Nobody picked up on why did Bernie have this somewhat collapse last night? What was it? And everybody's saying, no, it's just socialist. That's why. Well, that's maybe a small part of it. That's not the real defining issue to me. That's not what really happened. Okay, well, the Democratic establishment coalesced around him. That did happen. That did help Biden. Klobuchar, Mayor Pete, they helped a little bit. But in the end, what became more indefensible for Democrats wasn't Bernie, the socialist Democrat. I mean, you can make a case, and I will make it in the course of this program, that quid pro quo Joe and his policies are equally extreme. It wasn't that at all. How do you defend? Remember, just in the days leading up to this primary, Bernie Sanders is out there defending murdering dictatorship regimes. He's, defending the former Soviet Union. Okay, how many millions of Americans, millions of people killed under Stalin? How could it? Well, their educational system was great. And it just, I think it was bewildering. But what he did was give every Democrat a reason to say, okay, no, it's indefensible. They weren't saying it, but it became indefensible. Castro, murdering dictatorship, Cuba, poverty. And he's talking about the educational system there, a disaster. Healthcare there, a disaster. When Castro comes to power, what did he do? Confiscated land and murdered people, murdering regime, just like the former Soviet Union where he went on his honeymoon. And then it comes out about Daniel Ortega, and he doubles down on what is the indefensible. How do you defend murdering dictatorships? How do you defend the colossal failure of these, quote, socialist experiments that he puts up on a pedestal? You can't. And if anything, I guess it's not that Joe is any less leftist because he's kind of right there with Bernie. Not a whole hell of a lot of difference between them. It's that he's not out there defending Castro and the former Soviet Union and Daniel Ortega. That's a big difference. This gave the Democrats a reason to say this guy's unelectable now. He's now stepped in it, and that issue alone will make him somebody that will be a pariah, because you cannot praise murdering dictators. And that's what he's been doing for the last week leading up to Super Tuesday. Now, part of the analysis that nobody's getting either, I am not convinced at all that all of these Democratic analysts and pundits are excited at quid pro quo Joe. I don't think any of them are. They saw a very flawed candidate in Michael Bloomberg. And, okay, he wants to take away people's guns and take away our big gulps. And if you're old and you're 95 and you have prostate cancer, his health care plan is to go home and die. We can't afford to take care of you. And that's all on tape. Then his comments about farmers, so unbelievably ignorant. His comments on race, beyond troublesome. And so he was never a viable option. The only thing he brought to the table really was money, not personality, not policy. He brought a lot of baggage with his money. So he became unelectable. Now, to get to Joe, okay, there wasn't any real other option. But there are percolating issues that are going to be in the forefront, whether they want to admit it or not. The gaffe machine that is Joe Biden, and there were more gaffes last night. We've got an updated montage we'll be playing in the course of the program today. And you're going to want to hear. We'll do it right after the news at the bottom of the hour. But there is, and I'm going to try to say this in a charitable way. I'm not a doctor. I don't play doctor on TV. I've been saying that if you ever had a fastball, it's gone. If you ever had a softball, that's gone too. I mean, whatever it is officially scary that's going on cognitively with Joe Biden. It just is. And listen, he's 78 years old. I don't blame him. There's no blame here. In many ways, I think you can actually feel sorry he's struggling so much. But clearly, to say it the way I would say it, he doesn't have the strength, the stamina, the alertness even that this job of president would require. You know, and everyone in the media and everywhere else, they're acting as though this issue doesn't exist. We're never going to talk about this issue. And I don't know what it is. I don't understand it. It keeps happening. And every time it happens, it gets worse. And it even happened again last night. As, you know, he tried at one point to throw a little poetry, as one article I read today said, our reach should exceed our grasp. And my reach does exceed our grasp, because there's no doubt in my mind we can grasp whatever we reach for. Okay, that's the exact quote. It's a little odd. Then, of course, it was a little odd again when he was introducing, I guess it was mixing up his wife with his sister.
By the way, this is my little sister, Valerie, and I'm Jill's husband. Oh, no, you switched on me. This is my wife. This is my sister. They switched on me.
And then, of course, we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal endowed by, the thing, of course, being God, the creator of the heavens and the earth and universes within universe, the God that created everything. I mean, this is pretty bad. Listen.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
You know the thing. And I tweeted out last night trying to be funny. Wow, practice pays off for Quid Pro Quo Joe. He practiced all day and night, and he was able to get it right last night after he botched it earlier. Then, his son's the attorney general, was never the attorney general. I'm running for the Senate. Okay, what state am I in? These are basic fundamental things, and it's happening all the time. Now, so that's one issue. Maybe nobody's going to talk about it, but people will talk about it. That's just a reality. It's not something, and I would accept that it should be dealt with delicately. I don't know what's going on, but it is troublesome to me. Whatever it is kind of getting a little scary now. And what if it keeps getting worse? So, and does he have the strength, the stamina, the alertness that this job requires? That is a legitimate question for the country. It's not a diss on Joe Biden. Then he's got another issue that he has to deal with, and that will be the corruption issue. There is now officially a Burisma Holdings investigation in Ukraine that they started of their own volition, not by Donald Trump. And that is Quid Pro Quo Joe. He's still on tape bragging that he leveraged $1 billion taxpayer dollars to get the prosecutor fired that was investigating his son that had zero experience being paid millions and millions of dollars. Now, Ron Johnson's also looking at it in the U.S. Senate. This is going to be a big issue because the evidence is incontrovertible and overwhelming. That's going to be a big issue. He also has a record. Now, all through 2016, I made a promise and a pledge to myself that I'm going to remind people of the 8-year record of Biden and Obama. Because, okay, they gave $150 billion, signed off on the worst deal ever with radical mullahs in Iran, $150 billion cash and other currency to a country that chants death to America, a 10-year deal that literally they could just start building their weapons again in 10 years. No anywhere, any place, anytime inspections, none of that. No U.S. inspectors. Why would anybody ever do that? That's an issue. Then you compare that to the Trump foreign policy, which has been a success. He's got a record on the economy. 13 million more Americans on food stamps, 8 years Biden-Obama. 8 million more in poverty. Lowest labor participation rate since the 70s. Lowest home ownership rate in 51 years. Worst recovery since the 40s. Accumulate more debt than all 43 presidents before them combined. He's got a run on that. He also has a record. I know people saying, well, coronavirus might slow the economy. It may very well, and we got to take it seriously. And the president, there's never been a president that acted more quickly. Now, I know 11 days into H1N1, they said it was an emergency to give funding away, but before the national emergency was declared by Obama 6 months later, 1,000 Americans had died. This is in 2009. We knew about it in April. By October, there were 1,000 dead Americans and 20,000 Americans that contracted the virus. Well, why didn't they put a travel ban in effect? Now, liberals might try to weaponize and bludgeon Donald Trump over corona. Well, the virus was first identified December 30th last year, but only as pneumonia-like symptoms. It was labeled corona January 7th of this year. Trump had a travel ban in place by January 31st. Controversial. No president ever acted this way in decades. And also, Americans returning from infected areas, they were quarantined. I'd say he acted rather quickly and took it seriously. And I'd also argue that we will never be able to calculate how many Americans did not contract the disease because of his expeditious and controversial, because Biden said it was xenophobic at the time, efforts. All of this is going to come up in 244 days. This will all be vetting out. These are all real issues. They can't ignore them. It's going to be dealt with. The American people, they don't own every part of the media. They own most of it. But then they can ignore it all they want. The American people will be informed. Hey, Sean Hannity here, and I think we should spend a little less time mowing our lawns and a little more time with our friends and families. So if you're spending hours and hours cutting the grass, well, it's time for you to make a change. Try a new Hustler zero-turn lawnmower. It's the best. Now, not only will you